Understand the basic principle of law here, because these are confusing matters. Sir, thanks so much for taking this call. There are several petitions already in the Supreme Court challenging the constitutional legality of the entire demonetization process. Help us understand whether there is a need for ordinance right now, and if yes, then why? So what are the provisions of law that apply?
Well, in my opinion, mere discontinuance of a tender does not require an ordinance as long as you are replacing the money rupee for rupee, which is being done. There is a degree of confusion also in these petitions, which are confusing the exercise which is at the level 2 of powers under the Banking Companies Regulation Act, under which certain restrictions have been placed, as they can be placed, on withdrawal of monies from banks. In 1978, we had a demonetization, and that had a deadline, that had penal provisions, etc. If you have any penalties, etc., which you want to impose or any special mechanism to create, that, of course, can't be done by notification. Then you need a law. There are observations in that judgment saying that there is no question of taking away of property because it is being done by law. The converse doesn't necessarily follow. But I think to obviate any uncertainty, because this matter is far too serious for legal nuancing at this time, to obviate any uncertainty, the government is, I think, being sensible in bringing an ordinance, at least to get rid of one legal ground, that you have done this without a law.
So, sir, if I understand what you're saying correctly, then it seems that under Section 26(2) of the RBI Act, and some of these petitions are challenging the constitutional validity of this particular section itself.
Yeah, which is silly, huh?
Yeah, so under this particular section, the RBI and the central government, by way of simply a mere notification, can, let currency seize legal tender. But perhaps if they have to look at certain further proceedings, prosecution, then an ordinance might be required?
See, that's the whole point. If, for example, there is some news that there is a concern that people might be hoarding up old notes. Now, I don't know why somebody would do that, but maybe there are some reasons why people are hoarding up old notes. If people are hoarding up old notes and the government wants to make that a punishable offense, obviously you need a law for that. So there may be other provisions they may be bringing in. For example, there have been a slew of deposits which have been made. And a lot of business people possibly have been advised that as long as you deposit the money and you show it in your tax return, which you filed for the year ended March 16, you are beyond inquiry. Now, that is not correct. But if the government, for example, wants to introduce a presumption saying if your income is more than what it was in the last year by, say, 20%, then you must prove that this money is from authentic sources, failing which the money will be forfeited. If they want to bring in any such tight provisions, then obviously they will need a law. But if you only want to discontinue a particular currency, and I think the Prime Minister once gave an example. I mean, it may seem it was a rhetorical point, but there was a legal point in it, that they had discontinued the 25 paisa. So strictly 25 paisa is limited legal tender. It's not unlimited legal tender. But even that discontinuance was by notification, and rightly so.
Sir, do you think the drive till now has legal sanctity, and it's only further proceedings, perhaps prosecution, maybe some stringent measures that the government is taking, that might require a legislative approval and therefore an ordinance now? But do you think up till now, up till the 30th, whatever has happened, that does have legal sanctity?
Yeah. As the demonetization, and obviously once you say a particular currency will cease to be legal tender, you obviously have to say from when. So you give a date. As far as restriction on withdrawals from banks are concerned, that's not under the RBI Act. That's under the Banking Companies Regulation Act. All governments of the world, all central banks of the world have the power for various economic reasons to control the working of banks, including withdrawal of funds. I mean, tomorrow, theoretically, if there's a run on a bank, the Reserve Bank imposes a moratorium and says you will not pay to anybody.
Okay.
There's nothing illegal in that.
Sir,